Hey mama, I'm Trish, and I need to tell you something that might tick off some people in the birth world. Birth doesn't have to be terrifying. It just needs to stop being a stinking mystery. After 16 years as a labor and delivery nurse, catching over 1,000 babies and birthing 6 of my own, I got fed up watching scared, unprepared moms walk into delivery rooms. So I created the birth education I wish every mama had. Real talk from someone who's been on both sides of that delivery room door. Right now, I'm giving you everything: my 3 signature birth courses, monthly support calls, my brand new birth pod class, and 30 days free in our mama membership. Plus, I'm shipping you my labor birth comb absolutely free. This little tool is a game changer for natural pain relief during contractions. That's over $4,300 worth of birth education, plus a physical tool delivered to your door. Your body was made for this, mama, but you need to know your options. Get the Calm Birth Bundle at labornursemama.com/calm, C-A-L-M, because confident mamas have better births. You get a 14-day money-back guarantee, lifetime access, and it's available right now inside our app. Stop letting birth be a mystery. Get educated, get empowered, get the bundle, and get your birth comb free. I need to tell you something about first trimester bleeding that can help you navigate it and handle the scariest moments of your pregnancy, because I'm going to share it from a personal standpoint, but I'm also going to share with you isn't what they teach in your prenatal appointments, as always, right? Most doctors don't take the time to explain, and I don't want you Google searching Dr. Google, okay? Because you will start panicking and you'll panic unnecessarily. And also, at some point, some people miss some critical warning signs. Hey you, I am Trish, or Labor Nurse Mama if you're new here. If you are a regular, I just want you to know I love you. I appreciate you guys. Each and every one of you, and your pregnancy journey is so important. Today, we're going to be talking about bleeding during pregnancy. And I've worked with thousands of women and been pregnant 6 times myself. And now my baby girl is pregnant. So I want to talk about some different scenarios. You guys know that I never come from like a fear-mongering place, right? But we need to be educated. So I'm going to give you some ways to tell the difference between normal spotting and something that needs immediate attention. Now, even if you're not bleeding right now, even if you're not even pregnant, I want you to save this because this is really important. And trust me, if it happens to you, you will be terrified. Okay, we're talking about bleeding during pregnancy. So even if you're not bleeding right now, even if you're terrified that it might happen, or you've already been to the ER and they sent you home confused, by the end of this video, I hope you feel completely different about first trimester bleeding. Because here's what you really need to know. Up to 25% of women experience some form of bleeding during their first trimester and into their second. And the majority of those pregnancies are just fine, completely healthy pregnancies. Now, let me say that again. 1 in 4 women. 1 in 4 women. So that means if you're bleeding right now, you're not alone. And it doesn't mean automatically that something is wrong. It can be, and I'm saying this in quotes, a normal situation. We're going to talk about why bleeding can happen in early pregnancy, because not all bleeding means like something really bad is happening. And I really want you to know that. And I want you to also hear me when I say that even though I'm telling you it's completely normal, things like implantation bleeding, when that little embryo is burying itself into your uterine lining, it can also feel really scary, even if you know it's normal. Sometimes it's from hormonal shifts as your body adjusts to the rising progesterone levels, or because your cervix becomes extra sensitive and full of blood flow, and you've been having some hanky-panky time. You might also see some late spotting after pelvic exam, or like we said, being intimate. And you can also see spotting if you've been straining with constipation. Again, this is all normal. Then there's also something called a subchorionic hematoma. This is like a pocket of blood, and it happens when a small collection of blood builds up between the uterine wall and the developing placenta. And it sounds scary, I know, but it's actually one of the most common causes of first trimester bleeding. And the thing is most of the bleeding resolves on its own without affecting your pregnancy at all. And I'm going to share what my family experienced because my daughter is pregnant, and around 6 to 8 weeks, she started spotting, and it was like brownish blood on and off, right? And it went on for about 10 weeks. As her mother, as her mama, and as a nurse who has seen it a lot, I felt in my gut. I just knew it was a subchorionic bleed. I told her that. I knew in my gut she and the baby were okay. But as her mother, that did not stop the fear from washing over me. And after losing 3 babies myself before I had her younger brother, Grayson, I knew that bleeding can sometimes lead to loss. So even with all of my knowledge, I still felt like that panic rise. We saw her provider, we saw the baby on ultrasound, we saw the heartbeat strong, and sure enough, it was a subchorionic hematoma, and it slowly resolved. And today, she is 28 weeks pregnant with our sweet little baby girl who is thriving. So if you've been told you have one or you're spotting brown blood day after day, please know this. It doesn't automatically mean the worst case scenario. You could have a subchorionic bleed, and typically if it's brown like that, it's not bad, right? And you can still go on to have a completely healthy pregnancy. It just means your body's doing what it needs to heal. Now, I always recommend you let your provider know. Always let your provider know. We took her, she didn't have a provider when she first started. We went to a walk-in clinic because it can get confusing. The medical system treats all bleeding when you get there like kind of an emergency, which creates that fear response in you. And then they may not give you the tools to understand what's actually happening, which is why I am recording this, because I don't want you to end up in that terrifying gray zone where my daughter was, where you're being told, we're just going to have to wait and see. And that waiting period can feel like torture. I've held the hands of many moms who come in for that exact situation. So today I'm going to break down the 3 types of first trimester bleeding. I'm going to tell you exactly what each one means, what causes it, and what you should do about it. The first type is what is called like implantation spotting. And this is actually one of the earliest signs of pregnancy, and most women miss it. They don't know. Some women see the spotting. Maybe they've been trying to get pregnant. They found out early. Implantation bleeding happens when that tiny little baby, that little embryo, burrows into your uterine lining. This usually happens around 6 to 12 days after conception. So most people are going to miss it. You've got this microscopic embryo literally digging into the wall of your uterus to establish a blood supply. That process can cause some light spotting. Again, most people miss that, but here's how you can recognize it. It's light. We're talking little tiny pink or a little tiny brown discharge, not bright red blood. It's very brief. It usually lasts a few hours to maybe 2 days maximum, and it's minimal. You might see it when you wipe, but you're not going to be filling a pad or anything like this. This is very, very brief. I had this with my 4th pregnancy, and I remember thinking my period was starting, but lo and behold, it was actually Gavin burying himself into my uterus because it stopped, and 2 weeks later, positive pregnancy test. That was implantation bleeding. So if you're experiencing this type of spotting and you're in that 2-week window, wait period after ovulation, don't panic. Your body might just be telling you that your sweet little baby is burying itself and you're pregnant. A 2010 study in the journal Fertility and Sterility found that about 15 to 25% of women report this type of early spotting, and it has no correlation with pregnancy complications. But here's where we need to talk about the second type of bleeding, and this is the one that causes the most confusion and fear. And the second type is called cervical irritation, or irritation bleeding, right? And this one is pretty common. And this sends a lot of women to the ER at 2 a.m. thinking they're having a miscarriage. The thing that is happening is that during pregnancy, your cervix becomes what we call friable. And that's medical talk for easily irritated, easily bleeds. It's engorged with blood vessels because it has a huge job to do, right? Your body is increasing blood flow to support this new pregnancy. So anything that touches or bumps your cervix can cause bleeding. And I mean anything. So whether you're having sex or a pelvic exam or even a vigorous bowel movement, like you're really constipated, and that can cause cervical bleeding, which will scare you to death. So let me tell you about a patient that came into the hospital at midnight. She was terrified. She came in, and I don't know why I was in the ER, but I think I was down there monitoring a patient. She came in, she's bleeding, she's terrified. Well, they ask her right away, like, have you had intercourse recently? They literally just had sex. She was convinced that she was losing the baby. They did an ultrasound, baby was fine. I was down there with them. We checked the heartbeat. Everything looked great. It was just cervical irritation. Then there's, a mom who goes for their OB appointment and they have a pelvic exam, and we'll start spotting that evening. Usually that bleeding will turn brown pretty quickly. You're going to freak out. I know it. No matter what, you're going to be crying and Googling worst case scenarios. But for her, from a pelvic exam, it's going to stop pretty quickly and baby will be fine. How to recognize cervical bleeding is it happens after something, whether it's sex, an exam, or straining, and it's bright red and then turns brown as it oxidizes, and it stops pretty quickly, usually within 24 hours after said thing touches your cervix. And it's not accompanied by cramping, which is a key difference. Most of the time when it's innocent bleeding, you're not having cramping, although you can have early cramping during pregnancy. So when should you call the doctor? Always. Always report bleeding. Should you panic? No. But you should always let your doctor know about bleeding, even though it's incredibly common and doesn't indicate a problem with your pregnancy. Okay, so now let's talk about a more concerning type of bleeding. And this is when your body might be signaling that something is wrong and you need medical attention. So here are 5 signs that bleeding needs immediate evaluation, like no pass and go, right? Number 1, heavy bleeding. Any bleeding that's soaking a pad in an hour or less. Number 2 is bright red blood that continues for more than 24 hours. Number 3, bleeding accompanied by severe cramping or abdominal pain. Number 4 is passing any kind of tissue or clots. And number 5 is bleeding with dizziness, fainting, or shoulder pain. All of these require immediate attention. Listen, I've been in the room where women have received devastating news. I have received devastating news. I've gone through this where the bleeding turned out to be very serious. I've also been there when the bleeding turns out to be nothing, but we sometimes quickly seeking care can make all the difference in the world, and being able to communicate those symptoms. So if you start to experience what you feel is concerning, let them know. Always put on a pad so you can track how much bleeding you're actually having. This information is really important for your providers. Second, note any other symptoms, like we said, severe cramping or abdominal pain. If you have fever or dizziness, always call your OB or go straight to the ER. Don't wait until morning if it's heavy or accompanied by pain. Always, 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 always. And let your provider know exactly what's going on. You want to say, I'm this many weeks pregnant and I'm experiencing bleeding. That's blank. Describe the amount, the color, and I'm having, and describe any symptoms or pain that you're having. And I need to be evaluated now. Say it and zip it. I always say that. Always don't let them dismiss you. Don't let them be like, "Oh, this is normal," because I would rather you investigate and be curious and find out what's going on. You know your body better than anyone else. And if something doesn't feel right, you have the right to be seen and evaluated. Number one, that is your right. So that's what I want you to know. When you go in for bleeding, typically we're going to do an ultrasound, possibly check your HCG levels, but there has to be time for that. So you may have to come back for that. And we are going to, walk through this with you. If you're very early, like 5 or 6 weeks, they might not be able to see anything on the ultrasound. That doesn't mean it's bad or wrong. It might just mean it's too early. They'll likely have you come back in a few days for a recheck of your HCG levels or send you to your provider. That waiting period is brutal. I've been there. I'm not going to lie to you. But what I want you to know is that knowledge is power, and fear leads to tension. Tension leads to stress hormones, and stress hormones do not serve you at all or your baby during pregnancy, during birth, whatever. So what you can do is just limit your Googling. I know it's tempting. I know, but Dr. Google will convince you it's the worst of the worst case scenario ever, ever, ever. And step 2 is to rest if you can. And, knowing that bed rest doesn't prevent miscarriage if it's going to happen, but it will help you to relax. 3, stay hydrated, eat well, stay nourished and hydrated, and talk to someone, your partner, a friend, a therapist. You don't have to carry this fear alone. For so many centuries, women walk through this alone, and you don't have to. And I want you to know that you're not alone. Not alone. And something someone said to me when I was losing my 3rd baby was, you are pregnant right now. You are pregnant with this baby right now. Whatever happens tomorrow or next week, right now, your body's doing what it's supposed to do. And I, tried to hold on to that and stay present in that, even being pregnant with Grace. And it was very, very difficult. So whether you're bleeding right now, you're worried it might happen, or you just want to be prepared, I want you to remember something. If anything out of all of this, even though first trimester bleeding is very scary, it doesn't have to steal your joy or your peace. So now you know the 3 types of bleeding: implantation spotting, which is actually a sign of pregnancy; cervical irritation, which is common and usually harmless; and subchorionic hematoma, and some signs of concerning bleeding, which needs immediate evaluation. You know the 5 signs to watch for. Make sure you save this so you know how to track your symptoms, an exact script to use to get immediate help, and most importantly, that you have the right to be seen and to be heard and taken seriously, period. Because I believe that knowledge is power, but you have to know how to use it. I am so glad that you're here. I really just pray for each and every one of you that it's harmless if you are having bleeding, or otherwise you don't have any bleeding at all. Because I know what it feels like to feel helpless. And when you feel informed, you feel less helpless and less confused. That's exactly what I'm here to give you. I hope this helped you feel less fearful and more informed, because you deserve to go into your pregnancy with knowledge and not have it fear-based. Okay, mamas, as always, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening. I am so proud of you for searching out knowledge. Again, knowledge is power, and you are so precious to us. We adore you guys. We're so grateful that you take the time to listen to our podcast. As always, hit subscribe, leave a review, leave a comment. Let me know what you are going through and what you want to hear more of. We love hearing from you guys. And as always, I will see you again next week. Bye for now.